Most of the nurse, her mum and dad took her home in a purse. It was a little box, wasn't it? A little shoebox,
Dad took me down on the train to Tresillian while she got over the operation, and then she came later, and then she had to stay in Tresillian with me, and then she went to church one day after nothing was happening, and you know the story about take your son, you know, he was going to kill his son, and can't think who he was.
That was...
Go home.
Yeah.
She went back to the Tresillian, she said, I'm going home. And they said, you can't do that. Why not? She's my baby. We've been feeding all the babies on your good milk. So she rang Dad and said, come and get me. And saw other doctors, and you know, everything was getting okay then. They were doing nothing, they were just feeding off her.
So against the advice of the nurse, her mum and dad took her home in a purse. She was just a little small blob, about the size of 2 bob. And her prospects could hardly have been worse. But once at home, Maureen started to thrive. And she showed the world she was more than alive. And with her big brother George, a close bond she did forge. How much was between you? 4 years?
3.5.
I got that. Yeah. She was 1 and he was 5.
She got that
right. And you probably don't know about this either. Her mum and dad, they were both quite industrious, though what they did wasn't illustrious. Her mum took in guests, upper class, of course, who wore hats and vests, and she gained fame for her apple pie's crustiness. Because Joyce had a guest house. And our father George was a coach driver, tourist guide. Yes. And he drove tourists round the Blue Mountainside. He would show them the sights and the Sydney's far lights till his fame, it became known far and wide. So I remember that Uncle George used to drive the tourists.
Yes.
Maureen, as she grew, took up singing. Her voice, like the chapel bells ringing. One night while she sang, a special bell rang. It was her pianist, Jeff. Flowers he was bringing. When she played the lead role in Rio Rita, crowds gathered outside just to greet her. With fruit on her head and her lips painted red. Even Carmen Miranda couldn't beat her.